This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Trump and Harris campaigning in the all-important battleground state of Pennsylvania.
We are the underdog.
The radical left lunatics.
I'm John Stolnis.
The lights coming back on in Florida.
Billions of dollars on housing for illegal migrants.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Canada and India each expelled 6 diplomats as part of an escalating dispute.
Coerced and threatened.
I'm Julie Walker.
Israel assures the U.S. of an Iranian attack plan.
Will the stock market be able to keep topping its prior records, or will corporate bottom lines be its undoing? I'm Peter Schacknow.
New lawsuits have been filed by 6 people accusing Sean Diddy Combs of sexual assault. I'm Ed Donahue.
And just how big is that pumpkin? All ahead on America in the Morning. Pennsylvania remains a hotbed of political activity, with both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in the Keystone state trying to win over any remaining undecideds while rallying their base. John Stolnis reports.
The vice president in the northwestern city of Erie, often seen as a bellwether in the state.
This is going to be a tight race until the very end, okay? We are the underdog. We are running like the underdog. We have some hard work ahead of us, but here's the thing also. We like hard work.
Harris hit the former president on comments he made to Maria Bartiromo on Fox News Sunday.
I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged. And he is out for unchecked power. That's what he's looking for. He wants to send the military after American citizens.
Erie is home to about 94,000 people, with suburbs and rural areas populated by a substantial number of Republicans. Trump visited Erie back on September 29th. Meanwhile, he was in the opposite corner of the state at a town hall in Oaks, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Philadelphia.
Look, we're running against not her. We're running against a very powerful and a very corrupt machine.
Trump spoke about the effects of illegal immigration on families of color in America.
So when millions of people pour into our country, they're having a devastating effect on Black families and Hispanic families more than any others.
However, after 2 medical emergencies, Trump ceased taking questions from the crowd and instead requested certain songs be played throughout the event venue. Trump then stood on stage for an additional 40 minutes dancing as YMCA, Guns N' Roses, Sinead O'Connor, and other songs filled the hall. Trump campaign press secretary Caroline Leavitt published a tweet on X with a photo and text in all caps that read, DJ Trump. Spokesperson Stephen Chung said on X that Trump is, quote, unlike any politician in history, and it's great. I'm John Stolnis.
Progress continues in the southeast, where lights are coming back on in Florida after 2 deadly and destructive hurricanes. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports the overall recovery will take much more time, and misinformation is causing trouble for North Carolina's cleanup efforts.
In Central Florida, more than 4 million people were out of power at the peak of outages.
There have been over 3.8 million accounts restored for power. So right now, about 97% of the state is electrified and operational.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis thanked the 50,000 utility workers who converged on his state when the storms passed.
We're less than 96 hours from when the storm fully left the state of Florida, and I know those guys got in and started working as soon as it was possible.
About 370,000 customers still in the dark, but the governor says the progress is pretty remarkable.
They've unloaded a total of 5 million gallons of fuel from Port Tampa. That's 2 million more than they would usually do over a similar period of time.
Heavy rain in the aftermath of the storms and river flooding has prolonged flooding concerns in the southeast and delayed recovery in some areas. Many spots in North Carolina still very difficult to access. The sheriff's office in Rutherford County, North Carolina this week announcing that they'd arrested a man and charged him with allegedly threatening to harm FEMA agents in the area. The 44-year-old was charged with going armed to the terror of the public. This amid increased threats against FEMA workers after comments by former President Trump and others that the federal hurricane response is lacking.
There's nobody that's handled a hurricane or storm worse than what they're doing right now. Kamala spent all her FEMA money, billions of dollars, on housing for illegal migrants, many of whom should not be in our country.
FEMA was forced to pause its recovery efforts while police investigated the threat. I'm Clayton Neville.
Increasing contention with our friendly neighbors to the north when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning this Tuesday. The next weather system, a rainmaker, shaping up. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy with our nation's forecast.
A large and chilly area of low pressure will continue to spin away across the Great Lakes and Northeast, while also expanding southward through the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, Middle Atlantic, and even the Southeast. This will cause widespread showers through much of the Great Lakes from Wisconsin and Illinois southward to Kentucky and as far east as West Virginia to Maryland, as well as most of the Northeast. A few of the showers near the Great Lakes will tap into that warmer water, producing a few rumbles of thunder with heavier showers. There could also be some strong wind gusts and small hail with a few of those showers. Farther northeast in northern New York and northern New England, there can continue to be a few snow showers through some of the mountains of the region, though not as heavy as the several inches that fell in the Adirondacks yesterday, but some mountain regions could still receive a covering with snow showers into tonight. Highs will range from the 30s and 40s across the northern states to mid-60s as far south as northern Alabama and northern Georgia, and this is about 10 to 20 degrees below the historical average for mid-October. Where it is remaining warm and even hot is in Texas with plenty of sunshine today. We'll have highs in the 90s and even some 100s with a few records likely to fall. And heading to the northwest, we're watching the next storm to move into the U.S. with plenty of clouds and some rain along the Washington and Oregon coast, a few showers developing inland. And these showers will continue to build eastward and expand through the rest of each of those states into northern Idaho and northern California. That's the weather across America. It will be a cloudy and chilly day in Cleveland, Ohio today with some showers and even a rumble of thunder and a high of 49. Sacramento, California will be warmer with sunshine and a high of 82. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. There's a diplomatic dispute north of the border involving two U.S. allies after Canada and India expel each other's diplomats in escalating rhetoric. Correspondent Julie Walker has more on that story.
In tit-for-tat moves, Canada and India each expelled 6 diplomats as part of an escalating dispute over last year's assassination of Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada, which notified India that its ambassador was a person of interest in the assassination.
Evidence also shows that a wide variety of entities in Canada and abroad have been used by agents of the government of India to collect information. Some of these individuals and businesses were coerced and threatened into working with the government of India. The information collected by the government of India is then used to target members of the South Asian community.
India has rejected the accusation as absurd. Bridget Govin, Assistant Commissioner, Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
We're not here to speak specifically about the Nijjar homicide, but we want to draw your attention and inform the public of the breadth of criminal activity that is occurring in Canada, which is a grave concern to our public safety. And what I can tell you, though, as a result of those investigations, we have uncovered connections to the government of India.
The RCMP also says they have evidence linking agents of the government of India to violent crimes committed in Canada. I'm Julie Walker.
Oil prices fall overnight after reports surfaced that Israel told the U.S. that it will not target oil or nuclear sites when it decides to attack Iran. The Washington Post reported that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the Biden administration it will target Iran after the Islamic Republic launched nearly 200 missiles at Israel 2 weeks ago, but will limit the scope of the attack, which many feared could lead to a full-scale war. The Israeli plans come less than 48 hours after the U.S. announced it would deploy an anti-ballistic missile defense system in Israel manned by American troops. In sports, Week 6 of the NFL, the Buffalo Bills defeat the New York Jets 23-20 in Monday Night Football. When we return on America in the Morning, restaurants, supermarkets, a look at consumer spending after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Peter Schack now.
Another day, another set of record highs for the Dow and S&P 500, and the Nasdaq is edging closer to its most recent record high set on July 10th. The latest batch of records came in a session mostly free of sentiment-shifting information, thanks in large part to the Columbus Day holiday, which closed the bond market and pushed economic and earnings data off the calendar. That changes today, though. 39 S&P 500 companies report quarterly earnings this week, a number that will ramp up over the next few weeks. Marianne Bartels, chief investment strategist at Sanctuary Wealth, doesn't think earnings or anything else will waylay the markets in the near term.
With the Fed now recalibrating, going to an easy monetary policy, the economy still growing, we're at full employment, albeit employment has been slowing. But more importantly, corporate profits are growing. So I think the investment outlook and the fundamental outlook and the technical outlook all align. That's going to allow the market to continue to rally as we go into November and December.
Most market commentators have been focused on interest rates, the economy, and earnings. But Tom Lee, managing partner at Fundstrat Global Advisors, sees a different reason why the market rally can continue.
We've seen this market be incredibly resilient. So I think it really shows macro data is becoming less important. And it's now the fact that a lot of cash has been on the sidelines. For the last 2 years, investors expected a recession. But at the end of the day, there's $6 trillion of cash on the sidelines, and October has turned out to be a great month.
It was major banks like Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan Chase that got earnings season off to a positive start last Friday with better than expected profits. Financials will be a big part of today's earnings roster once again, with Bank of America, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs set to report. We'll also be hearing from Walgreens, Johnson & Johnson, United Healthcare, and United Airlines.
Let's look ahead. The earnings reports are coming in, but what's the outlook, Peter, for consumer spending?
Those earnings reports will tell us a lot about that. We've seen in the past, for instance, that consumers are being picky when they spend in restaurants, with so-called value meals gaining in popularity. And a similar occurrence has been seen in the nation's supermarkets. We'll get even more of a handle on that later this morning. The New York Fed will be releasing its survey of consumer expectations, telling us how consumers feel about the future course of inflation, the job market, and the economy in general. Also out this morning, the National Retail Federation's holiday season sales forecast. The 2023 holiday season saw spending up 3.8% to just over $964 billion, a record high. Later this week, on Thursday morning, we'll get September retail sales figures. They're expected to rise 0.3% from August.
CNBC's Peter Schack now. When we return on America in the Morning, troubles grow for a disgraced music mogul, and move over Charlie Brown for the Great Pumpkin. After these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. Another day and more legal trouble for Sean Diddy Combs. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports this time for the music mogul, it's more allegations of sexual assaults in 6 new civil lawsuits.
The lawsuits accuse Combs of raping women, sexually assaulting men, and molesting a 16-year-old boy. They were filed anonymously in Manhattan federal court and are part of what their lawyers say is a group of more than 100 alleged victims who are in the process of taking legal action. Sean Combs was arrested last month on charges he coerced and abused women for years with help from a network of associates and employees while silencing victims through blackmail and violence.
He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent, and we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
One of the John Does filing suit claims he was 16 at a party in 1998, talking about possibly breaking into the music industry when Combs abruptly ordered him to drop his pants. Sean Combs has been held at a Brooklyn federal jail since his arrest. I'm Ed Donahue.
It weighs as much as a car. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports that a Minnesota horticulture teacher remains a champion of giant pumpkins.
In Northern California, a giant pumpkin named Rudy weighed in at 2,471 pounds. He beat his competitor by
6 pounds. Travis Dieter from Minnesota.
But it wasn't easy.
I had the world record at 2,749, so obviously you don't set out to not beat it. But to win this event, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, we did not have the right weather year to do it. So to be up here on this stage with my family and friends is awesome.
Rudy's next stop will be in Southern California, where a team of professional carvers will do a 3D carving on it at a Halloween event. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour, the latest in the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. The death toll rises from Helene in North Carolina. Some there refusing government help. We'll tell you why.
Learning more about the man caught with guns outside a Trump rally. I'm Clayton Neville.
It's arrest number 2 in the death of a 72-year-old in Michigan, allegedly by men impersonating utility workers. I'm Pamela Furr.
Arrests outside the New York Stock Exchange and California's plan to reduce gas prices.
An icon of the fight for equal pay has died. I'm Ben Thomas.
The panda drought at Washington's National Zoo appears to be coming to an end. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. The next storm system is shaping up. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
We are watching a storm entering the northwest today, the next storm to move into the U.S. This will produce plenty of clouds and some rain along the Washington and Oregon coast with a few showers developing inland. These showers and steadier rain will continue to expand through the rest of each state into northern Idaho tonight, as well as southward into Northern California. This will be a start of a much cooler weather pattern to shift into the western U.S. generally. A large and chilly area of low pressure will continue to spin away across the Great Lakes and Northeast and expanding southward to as far south as the Southeast. This will cause widespread showers through much of the Great Lakes into Wisconsin and Illinois, southward to Kentucky, and as far east as West Virginia into Maryland, as well as most of the Northeast. A few of the showers near the Great Lakes will have some warmer water to work with, producing a few rumbles of thunder with heavier showers. And there could also be some stronger wind gusts and small hail with a few of those showers. And then farther to the Northeast in northern New York and northern New England, there will be some snow showers around through the mountains of the region, though not as heavy as the several inches that fell yesterday in the Adirondacks. But some of the mountain regions could still receive a covering of snow today into tonight. Highs will range from the 30s and 40s across the northern states, with mid-60s as far south as northern Alabama and northern Georgia. This is about 10 to 20 degrees below the historical average for mid-October. And it's remaining hot in Texas. There'll be plenty of sunshine today. Highs will be in the 90s and even 100s, and a few records are likely to fall. The rest of the Plains states will also have plenty of sunshine, but afternoon temperatures closer to average. Finally, Phoenix will end its run of record highs today. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Power in Florida is expected to be restored to all areas affected by Hurricane Milton by sometime today, and the state is offering free gasoline to those in need as the cleanup continues. Correspondent Julie Walker reports it may take upwards of a year to fix the damage and clear the debris left behind by a storm that cut right through the heart of Central Florida.
With Hurricane Helene, our home took on about 4 to 5 inches inside, about 1.5 feet outside.
The damage was basically the roof. They had to redo the roof.
You come here 10 days ago and you see what you see, and you came here today, you see what you see. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference, except in this one, the roof came off.
Every single unit that's on the first floor that's not elevated above a parking garage has been flooded out twice now. Jeez. And they've got to start the whole process over of cleaning, sanitizing, bringing in drying equipment, getting them all dried and prepped for renovations.
As Floridians clean up from the double punch of Hurricanes Helene and Milton, Governor Ron DeSantis says about 97% of the state has power back.
Since the storm hit Florida, Hurricane Milton, there have been over 3.8 million accounts restored for power. So right now, about 97% of the state is electrified and operational. There's about 369,000 that are still outstanding. And FPL thinks by tomorrow you're going to have pretty much everybody.
He also says the state now has 12 free fuel distribution sites.
We have fuel for the public. Not even charging you. Free gas. Imagine that. Helps to have a budget surplus.
Meanwhile, residents like Brooke Karstensen in Tampa, whose home was flooded, says the community is coming together to help one another.
We all have our hurricane or our bug out kits or our hunker down kits, and everyone has like the chainsaw or the tarp or this or that. But really the most important thing for us was the community we built. And that made all the difference for both the hurricane rescue and the recovery, and now hopefully the restoration.
DeSantis cautions debris removal could take up to a year. He says President Biden has approved 100% federal reimbursement for state efforts for 90 days. I'm Julie Walker.
Northward into North Carolina, the death toll has risen to 95 from Hurricane Helene. The largest number of deaths, 42, comes from Buncombe County, one of the hardest hit counties in western North Carolina. Yancey County, located in the mountains north of Asheville with a population of just over 18,000, suffered 11 deaths. North Carolina's Department of Health and Human Services says of the 95 fatalities, 20 were the result of drowning, 11 were lost to landslides, 4 killed when the cars they were in were washed away by the worst flooding the area has ever seen, and 34 died from what the state calls unknown circumstances. In some cases, people in North Carolina who are desperately needing help are not getting it because they're telling those who want to try and assist to leave. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports that FEMA workers had to change how they were operating in North Carolina after receiving death threats at a time when many believe to be heightened disinformation about relief efforts.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency says that disaster workers paused and then changed some of their hurricane recovery efforts over the weekend in North Carolina, including abandoning door-to-door visits after receiving threats they could be targeted by a militia. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office says it received a call about a man with an assault rifle who commented about possibly harming employees of FEMA working in the hard-hit areas of Lake Lure and Chimney Rock. 44-year-old William Jacob Parsons was later arrested and charged with a misdemeanor. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The man arrested with guns outside a California Trump rally is telling his side of the story while authorities are standing behind his arrest. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
The Sheriff's Department in Riverside, California, clarifying in a press conference this week what led to Vim Miller's arrest. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco says that deputies confronted a Miller in the parking area outside the Trump rally in Coachella Valley.
As he got to the inside perimeter where deputies were conducting obviously a more thorough evaluation of the vehicles that were coming in, there were many irregularities that popped up. The deputy noticed that the interior of the vehicle was in quite disarray.
The sheriff said the vehicle vehicle had a homemade style license plate, and multiple forms of ID were found inside. Miller told his side of the story on social media. He took to Rumble, where he posted a video longer than an hour explaining that he's a member of the media and his side of what happened.
Prior to entering the parking lot area, I did what I always do, which is that, and there's much evidence of this, if you ask around Nevada police officers, well, I will fully transparently let them know that in the trunk of my car, I carry 2 firearms. One is a Glock, one is a shotgun.
The 49-year-old from Las Vegas described himself on a LinkedIn page as an investigative journalist and a documentary filmmaker. He says he carries the guns he was found with as protection and responded to reports that he's a Trump supporter.
President Donald Trump has been near and dear to our hearts because he's one of the only individuals that I've seen have the courage to actually stand up to this tyranny against we the people.
Sheriff Bianco was asked to respond to Miller's claims that he told police he had the guns before he was searched.
Quite frankly, I'm not really concerned with the statement that he gave the media after he was released from custody, because it's irrelevant to me. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there were a minimum of 25,000 people that entered past those deputies into that location that had legitimate identification and weren't carrying guns.
While Miller denies trying to cause any harm on the former president, the sheriff was asked about comments that he made calling the incident a thwarted assassination attempt.
Basically, I honestly, I will be honest with you, I don't remember saying that, but it certainly would be something I did say, because it's something that in the last 12 hours we've talked about extensively. I certainly wouldn't want to be saying after the fact that I wish we would have done something to prevent that shooting.
I'm Clayton Neville.
When America in the Morning returns, protests on Wall Street. Plus, Newsom's plan to lower gas prices in the Golden State. Those stories and more after these messages. I'm John Trout. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. A busy day on Wall Street Monday, but it had nothing to do with what was happening on the trading floor. About 200 demonstrators protesting Israel's war in Gaza were arrested in a sit-in outside the New York Stock Exchange. The protesters chanted, "Let Gaza live," and "Up with liberation, down with occupation," in front of the Stock Market Exchange's landmark building in Lower Manhattan. None of the pro-Palestinian protesters got inside the exchange, but at least 200 made it inside a security fence where the NYSE is located, where they sat down and waited to be taken into custody. A handful of counter-protesters waved Israeli flags and tried to shut down the pro-Palestinian chants. Police reported there were no injuries. Update on a story we brought you yesterday. Authorities in Michigan make a second arrest in the case of a 72-year-old man found dead in the basement of his house after a home invasion robbery. Pamela Furr has the latest.
Prosecutors say 2 men went into the Rochester Hills home of 72-year-old Hussein Murray and his wife Thursday night, posing as utility workers.
Or DTE. We're checking for gas leaks.
That's actual Ring camera audio. Now, the homeowner spoke to the men through the Ring camera, but did not let them into their home. The suspects then returned the next morning and were allowed inside. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Burchard tells WDIV-TV in Detroit, Murray went downstairs into the basement with the 2 alleged utility workers, but never came back up. That's when the wife was tied up.
The house was ransacked. And, they were specifically looking for cash or a safe, things like that.
Police believe the 2 may have followed Murray home from the jewelry store he owned.
We have captured suspect number 1 in Louisiana. That is in process. We have a 3-count warrant as a starting point for him.
Now, his name is Carlos Hernandez, who's also wanted in Ohio for other crimes. The second suspect has not been identified yet, but is in custody. I'm Pamela Furr.
Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill aimed at reining in California's soaring gas prices that remain the highest in the nation. Newsom says the bill will require oil refineries to keep a minimum inventory level of fuel in an effort to what he says is to avoid scarce supply, which leads to higher prices. The law also allows the State Energy Commission to set new rules around backup fuel supply and maintenance for oil refiners. Currently, the average price for a gallon of gas in the nation is $3.20. In California, the average price is $4.67. And in some northern and central parts of the state, drivers are paying as much as $5.90 a gallon. This comes at a time when 18 states are paying less than $3 for a gallon of gas. America in the Morning continues. An icon of the equal pay movement has died. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports on the passing of Lily Ledbetter.
Lily Ledbetter was a manager at a Goodyear factory in Gadsden, Alabama. Then President Barack Obama told her story at a bill signing ceremony in January 2009.
She was just a good hard worker who did her job, and she did it well for nearly 2 decades before discovering that for years she was paid less than her male colleagues for doing the very same work.
Ledbetter received an anonymous note telling her about the pay gap. She sued, and her case went all the way to the Supreme Court, which ruled in 2007 she'd filed her complaint too late. She'd needed to do it within 6 months of receiving her first discriminatory paycheck, years before she even learned about the disparity. But 2 years later, Obama signed the Lily Ledbetter Fair Pay Act into law, giving workers the right to sue within 180 days of receiving each discriminatory paycheck, not just the first.
I signed this bill for my daughters and all those who will come after us.
Ledbetter continued her advocacy for fair pay in the years that followed, at a White House event in January 2016, saying the Fair Pay Act named after her was just a down payment.
While paycheck fairness has since stalled in Congress, we're not giving up on it. Our federal laws badly need an update.
Her family says Ledbetter died Saturday night after a brief illness, surrounded by loved ones. She was 86. I'm Ben Thomas.
A train operator dies after a New Jersey Transit River Line train struck a tree that had fallen onto the tracks. It happened during the start of the morning commute. Authorities report the train was traveling from South Trenton when it hit the tree. 23 passengers on the train suffered injuries, all considered non-life-threatening. The National Transportation Safety Board will be investigating. With a look at Tuesday sports, here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
National League Championship Series Game 2 in L.A., the Mets pounced on the Dodgers 7-3 to even their series at a game apiece. Francisco Lindor led off the game with a home run. Then after New York added a run in the second, L.A. walked Lindor to load the bases with 2 out. But Mark Vientos spoiled the strategy with a grand slam for a 6-0 edge.
Just get 1 run in, get a walk, like whatever I can do to add another run to the score. And luckily I had a ball in there and then went over the fence.
Sean Manaea pitched into the 6th for New York, and the Mets bullpen bent but did not break the rest of the way. Game 3 is tomorrow night at Citi Field. In New York last night, the Yankees took the ALCS opener 5-2 over the Guardians. Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton went deep. Carlos Rodon and 3 relievers struck out 14 Cleveland batters.
The bullpen coming in and shut the door was great, and obviously offensively we scored some runs, some big swings from Soto and Big G, and so we played a very good game.
Game 2 is tonight in the Bronx. Monday Night Football, the Bills held off the Jets 23-20. The play of the night was a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. Alan Lazard grabbing Aaron Rodgers' 52-yard prayer in the end zone to cut Buffalo's lead to 3. The Jets got that tying field goal midway through the third quarter, but Greg Zuerlein then missed 2 potential go-ahead kicks, both off the left upright. Tyler Bass made a chip shot late in the fourth quarter to win it. Week 7 gets going Thursday with the Broncos at the Saints. Fire wagon hockey in Ottawa as the Senators shaded the Kings 8-7 on Josh Norris's second goal of the game in the first minute of overtime. Devils blanked Utah, 20 saves for Jake Allen, handing the newest team in the league its first loss in 4 games this season. Islanders rocked the Avalanche for their first victory. Colorado's off to an 0-3 start. Panthers nipped the Bruins. Penguins scored 4 unanswered goals to crush the Canadiens, and the Rangers rolled over the Red Wings. That's Tuesday Sports.
Robert Workman with Morning Sports. When we return on America in the Morning, Hollywood accuses Musk of being a copycat. After these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. Elon Musk is catching heat from a Hollywood director claiming the Tesla CEO copied his robotic designs. Details from Kevin Carr.
On Thursday, Tesla unveiled several new products, including self-driving taxis and robot servants. It's no secret that Tesla draws inspiration from science fiction, as chief designer Franz von Holzhausen said.
This is the birthplace of many epic films, many of them depicting a vision of the future. We're here tonight to experience that future.
However, the company may have drawn a bit too much inspiration from Hollywood when it came to the Tesla bot known as Optimus, as described by CEO Elon Musk.
So you can have your own personal R2-D2 C-3PO.
Alex Proyas, director of the 2004 Will Smith actioner iRobot, took issue with the design. He posted on X, "Hey Elon, can I have my designs back, please?" iRobot was based on Isaac Asimov's groundbreaking collection of short stories, which envisioned a future with robots peacefully serving humanity.
A robot cannot harm a human being.
You trust them if you want to.
Proyas compared Tesla's Robotaxi and Robovan to similarly designed vehicles in the film. iRobot production designer Patrick Tatopoulos was more positive, suggesting in an Instagram post that he felt honored. This isn't the first time Musk's products mirrored science fiction. Tesla's Cybertruck is quite similar to the armored personnel carrier in Aliens, and Musk's AI chatbot Grok was modeled after Marvin the paranoid android in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm Kevin Carr.
If you go to Washington, D.C.'s National Zoo, you can tell something's missing as their famous panda exhibit is closed following the return to China of their giant pandas. However, as correspondent Ed Donahue reports, the process of reopening that famous exhibit is soon to get underway as 2 new giant panda cubs will be heading back to the nation's capital.
Chinese officials say less than a year after 3 of its pandas were sent back to China, a pair of 3-year-old giant pandas named Bao Li and Qing Bao have left a research facility and will soon be flown to Washington. The National Zoo has a long panda history.
Very cute. I'm a panda lover.
The first pandas from China arrived at the zoo in 1972. Bao Li means precious vigor and Qing Bao, green treasure. When they arrive is still up in the air. There will likely be an extended quarantine and acclimation period before they are introduced to the public. Ed Donahue, Washington.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.